everybody, this is Joe, aka Cinco, with the Bitcoin Mining Show, brought to you by Altair Technology. Today we have a cool guest that is one that I'm glad we're speaking with, especially with some things that are coming up here in the next month and a half. So this is a good one to talk about. We are recording at block height 961907. Looks like F2 Pool just hit that one about 2 minutes ago. But we're going to go ahead and talk with Mr. Andrew Tilmann, who does a lot in Bitcoin, not just Bitcoin, in business. Good guy to talk to. He's one of the guys heading up the Midwest Bitcoin Summit coming up here in about 43 days. So this is one, if you are interested in Bitcoin, whether you're new to it or you're an OG, you definitely want to take a look at this summit, because this is probably the best one of 2026. And we're going to explain why here. Mr. Tilmann, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us and coming on the show, sir.
Yeah, thanks, Nico, man. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to talk all things Bitcoin and happy to, answer any of your questions.
Right on, man. Appreciate it. Before we get into about the summit, if you don't mind, for my folks that maybe don't know who you are, can you kind of give the elevator pitch? Who's Andrew Tilmann, what you do, how you got into Bitcoin?
Yeah, man. I'm just a pleb, honestly, at the end of the day. I'm actually a chemical engineer by education and by profession. And so I've worked in initially paper engineering, and then I started a medical marijuana processing lab up early in my career. And then I worked in semiconductors for a little bit. But I've been in Bitcoin since 2015, so a little over 11 years now. And I've just been a hardcore maxi since really 2017, when it kind of blew my brain apart in that bull run. And I went deep down the rabbit hole after that. But, my whole professional career and really like a small portion of my college career, I've just been really deep in the weeds with Bitcoin. And I love it. I've been orange pilling kind of on my own as a lone wolf in the middle of the normie world and the engineering world. And I just love, that's like honestly my pastime is orange pilling. I love all things money, all things economics. I think Bitcoin is one of the most important innovations of our species. And so I think this is like one of the most important missions I could work on in my life outside of having a family. But yeah, it's kind of the background of myself.
That's really cool. And, one of the things that I like to talk to people about is, if you're orange pilling, which we all should, find your people, plant the seeds, water them when you can, let people get into Bitcoin when it's right for them, but you got to plant it, is, hey, if you've got local meetups, go to them if you can. I'm going to one tomorrow night here in Northwest Houston. But you're kind of taking this one step further. You're not just saying like, I'll go to a meetup or I'll orange pill my friends and family. You're like, screw it. We're going to make a convention. We're going to have a summit where people can come and talk about Bitcoin and learn about it with a great educational focus. So can you give us a little bit about the Midwest Bitcoin Summit, how that started, where that idea came from, and kind of where you think it's going?
Yeah, man. It started from so many different angles, but really it started last year in our preparation to go to Vegas, and really a little bit before that. As I lived in Ohio for about 6 years with my wife, working both in the paper industry and the cannabis industry. And we moved back to the Chicagoland area where she was like raised and she grew up. And when I moved back to Chicago, I was under the impression, because I lived in rural Ohio, I was like, oh, I'm going to the big city. There's going to be a ton of Bitcoin. There's a lot of action, a lot of stuff going on. I can't wait to get involved with all this, because I lived in Lime, Ohio, which is very small, kind of desolate, Rust Belt city. There's nothing going on there. So when I got to Chicago 2 years ago, I was sorely disappointed. There was not much going on. There were like small meetups, but it was like maybe 10 to at most 20 people. And there just wasn't a lot of movement. For the third largest city in the United States, I was just extremely disappointed. And I was like, what the hell is going on, man? Like, if there's nothing happening in Ohio, which is a favorable state, there's a little bit going on in Ohio at the time, but there's nothing happening in Chicago, like one of the most dense economic cities in the United States. I was like, well, there's nothing going on elsewhere, like, so at least in the Midwest. And as we prepped for Vegas last year, as we were going there, it just kind of clicked in my head. I'm like, we have to do something in the Midwest. There's nothing happening here. Why aren't we doing something bigger? Why is no one doing this right now? And one of my good friends and one of my founding members of the company, Lenny Berry, he owns the third largest cannabis conference. So it just kind of was a light bulb moment when I was on a meeting early in the morning on a Sunday as we were prepping a few weeks out to go to Vegas. I was frustrated. I'm spending all this money to go to Vegas. I'm traveling a long distance. I'm losing time. And I'm like, why isn't there a conference in the Midwest? And then I realized, if you want that, just do it yourself. And I called Lenny. I said, hey, man, I know you got your conference coming up, but like, what do you think about doing a Midwest Bitcoin Summit? And he's like, let's do it. And I just knew like Lenny has the track record for this. He's the third largest cannabis conference in the United States. He knows what he's doing. He has the contacts. He has the experience. I have like the Bitcoin side of the equation. And it was just like, all my life I've been prepping kind of for this moment because I love Bitcoin, I love orange pilling. I've been running massive corporate projects on the engineering side. It was just kind of like, I don't know, it just made total sense at the moment, and then we just executed on it from there.
Man, that's great, and that's cool how it comes together like that. Just an idea. That's that we talk
Yeah,
about on the show. We call it like real life proof of work, where instead of just
yeah,
saying like, "Man, I wish somebody would do that," you're like, "Can we do this?" And your buddy's like, "Let's
yeah,
do it," and it happens,
yeah,
and you do it. That is
yeah,
so Bitcoin. I freaking love it. That's also very kind of the frontier of the cannabis industry in the U.S. too. It's it's that frontier, and it's like we can do this. Let's make it happen. So that's a great marriage of
yeah,
two different thought processes right there. Love it.
yeah.
So and I think in my opinion, I was born and raised in New Jersey. I'm a Navy guy, so after the Navy, I moved down to Texas. But my family grew up. My family is from kind of the steel area, the railroad areas of the Northeast, where they've gotten hit over the past few generations with it used to be booming areas for jobs, blue collar jobs, and that's really not that's not a thing anymore, right? I think Ohio has has experienced that as well. So I think Columbus is a great pick for this. I mean, it's kind of ripe for getting people educated on this new frontier of money, right?
Yes. Yeah. Ohio is the best place in my opinion, not just because like majority of our network is out there and our connections, but when you look at Ohio as a state, politically speaking, they're pro energy, they're pro innovation, they're pro Bitcoin on average. And it was just like the natural fit for us also geographically, because if you look at where Columbus is located, about 50% of the population in the United States is in a drivable radius of Columbus. So it's like a perfect location for, again, all these problems I had in my head about going to some other conferences. I was like, well, how do we solve this for, as many people as possible? And where do we position this for the flagship inaugural event? Well, you put it in a favorable state in a growing, rapidly pro innovation, tech forward city that is geographically located for everybody, right? So we want to be able to like touch as many people as we can within a driving distance and put it in a very inexpensive place, which is Ohio on average, right? I mean, you can get a pretty inexpensive hotel for under $100 there.
Mm-hmm.
You could spend like less than $1,000 total going to the Midwest Bitcoin Summit and get the highest caliber conference that you'll find anywhere, which is a deal that I don't think you're going to find anywhere else in the world, let alone in America.
Right. And I think you got that right. And this isn't to crap on the other conferences, the major conferences, but
No,
something to talk about is you've got to kind of pick what you're looking for when you go to a conference or a summit. And again, I'm showing some of my bias here. Vegas looked fun, but it also looked very kind of suit coinery to me. I'm a miner, that just didn't appeal to me. I love Vegas, but it's a lot of money to go do that, and I don't know if I would get what I wanted out of it personally. There's people who do.
yeah.
Same thing with Mining Disrupt. Went this year, enjoyed it, love Miami, met some really great people down there. But at the same time, it wasn't a lot of plebs. It turned out to be a lot of business to business. I've got this gut feeling that the summit in Columbus is going to be plebs. Like this is going to be Bitcoiners talking with Bitcoiners. It's not going to be some venture capitalist just spouting out to another guy about what's some cool things we can do. This and looking at the schedule of what topics you guys have so far for speaking, it kind of entails that as well. Like you've got a really nice schedule of talks going on.
Yeah, man. And just to like kind of backtrack, I have the utmost respect for the rest of the conferences. They
Mm-hmm.
paved the way, honestly, for everybody.
Oh
That
yeah.
where we're at today in this industry is a lot to do with the media companies and the conferences. And so there's nothing that I have but respect for them. I think they have propped up the industry at a national level and an international level, which has been beautiful. And our focus is very regional. It's very grassroots. It's about the Midwest region, right? As you had alluded to, like this is a hollowed out economic region that needs to be revitalized, and that is our primary focus. So it is very grassroots. It's very, I guess, pleb focused. It's for the average individual. It's for the families. It's for the small and medium business owners, and it's for the city and the state at the highest level. But yeah, I mean, our programming is very education forward. It's very adoption focused. I won't say that there's not going to be suit coiners there, and because at the end of the day, Bitcoin is money,
Mm-hmm.
and every single element of the economy, Bitcoin is coming for. It's the apex money, and so it's going to infiltrate the suits. It's going to infiltrate Wall Street. It's going to infiltrate politics, but it's going to be for everything. It's just a medium of exchange. It's the unit of account, and like right now, it's the store of value asset that we all are trying to buy as much as we can of. So it's very heavily focused on the pleb side, but like we're going to curtail this to focus on everything across the
Mhm.
board and have the experience for no matter who you are, you can find that experience at the Midwest Bitcoin Summit. So whether it's the institutional B2B or the B2C or the
Mhm.
like grassroots type of level of engagement, everything will be there for every single level of attendee.
That's great, and that's kind of what if I wanted to go when I go to a conference, I do want to get that buffet. I want to get a little bit of everything
Yeah.
so I can see it. I don't want it, super hyper focused on one thing. So that's great if you're looking for it, or even just getting exposure to things maybe you're not comfortable with because you just haven't
Yeah.
been around it. It's a perfect opportunity for it. Um, all right, let's see here. So Columbus. Tell me a little bit about Columbus. If I've got folks, and again, like you said, really easy to get to Columbus, Ohio. Pretty much no matter where you're at. It's an easy trip. It's an inexpensive trip by and large,
Yeah.
instead of going to some of the other cities in the U.S. What are some things about Columbus that really draws you to it? Like, not only just you've got the at the convention center there, the Greater Columbus Convention Center, but there's some other things in the area there that's kind of worth doing while you're there, right? Some other things.
Yeah, I mean, Columbus is, it's funny because I talked to so many people that have never been to Ohio before, but like Columbus is one of the largest cities in the Midwest. It's definitely the fastest growing in the Midwest city, and it has over 1 million people in there. It's very tech forward. Columbus is a pretty fun city in general. There's so many restaurants, there's so many bars, there's so many different activations. You have a zoo, you have COSI, the Columbus Science and Industry Museum, which is the number one rated museum for science and industry in the country. And then, specifically for us at the convention center, the Greater Columbus Convention Center, this is one of the nicest venues that you could host a
Mm-hmm.
conference at outside of maybe Chicago's McCormick Place. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, this is where they do the Arnold Classic every single year, which is the largest
Mm-hmm.
bodybuilding expo.
Okay.
So that's like why this convention center specifically had its rise to fame and why it's so nice is because of specifically the Arnold Classic. But I mean, yeah, I mean, my 2 cents as a Ohioan living there for 6 years, if you're going to make a trip to Columbus and you have a few extra days after the conference because the conference ends on Thursday, I would highly recommend making a small trip down to Hawking Hills. It's about maybe 40 minutes south of Columbus. It is one of the most underrated state parks you have ever
Cool.
been to. It is absolutely insane, beautiful. You can get like insane, very, very cheap and inexpensive Airbnbs right in the Appalachian Hills.
Mm.
And there's just so much hiking, so much like pretty cool cliff and cave systems that you can go through. So Ohio in that particular area is very beautiful. But yeah, I mean, you can find kind of anything you want. It's a large city.
It's cool. It's beautiful. It's affordable, easy to get to. I mean, at that point, you're kind of building all those things that somebody would want to take a trip to something. So that's fantastic. And
Yeah.
yeah, looking at the Greater Columbus Convention Center, I've never been there myself, but like I'm looking to the side because I'm looking at one of my screens. Looks like it's super easy to get to when you're in Columbus.
Yeah, man. And we have a pretty large layout too at the convention center. So we have Exhibit Hall B, which is where we'll be doing our expo hall. That's 118,000 square feet. So doing a bunch of stuff in the expo hall beyond just like, exhibiting companies and their booths. We have a expo hall stage, which is being sponsored by Farm God. We have a Bitcoin arts gallery. We
Mhm.
have a Bitcoin health and wellness activation. You have the grassroots meetup lounge. There's all sorts of stuff going on in there. And then we have a second area, which is more for the B2B and like the VIP experience. It's in the Battelle Grand. It's a massive ballroom. It's like 74,000 square feet. We have a business hall in there with a business stage, business lounge. We have a VIP area, which will have, curtailed catering. So it's going to be breakfast and lunch being served. And we have an amazing, honestly, amazing catering that will be we're going to post this soon. We just locked in the food. So that'll be
Nice.
exciting. But and we have our fourth zone, which is the main stage, which will seat around 1,300 people. So we've went
Wow.
really big right off the rip. There's 4 stages in total. This can just in the footprint that we have in this setup, we could probably expand this to be like, 12, 15,000 people comfortably in the expo hall. And then beyond that, probably like 20,000 total.
Mhm.
But we're always going to keep it pretty small. I don't think we'll ever exceed 10,000 people on this conference because one of the things that we always want to do is maintain the experience for the attendees
Cool.
and for the sponsors as well. I've learned a lot from going to other conferences, and we're going to really try to learn from the mistakes of other conferences, in my opinion, and make the experience as good as possible for the attendees.
That's awesome. And that's definitely the key, right? Like you making that experience the top thing, so people not only say, man, I want to go back to this next year, but they're going to tell their friends, like, let me tell you why you need to come with me next year. That's
Yeah.
huge. And that's orange pilling, right? Because you got people that are going to pull their friend that says, that they say, hey, you need to come check this out. I think this is a fit. So that's awesome, man. I'm glad you guys are doing that. And you're keeping it, in my opinion, super affordable for people to go to. Like,
Yeah.
blew my mind looking at the prices for these tickets.
Yeah.
And again, not crap it on the other conferences, because that's not the goal. But when you look at the cost of tickets for, and I'm looking at this aside again because I'm kind of pulling it up, Expo Pass, $50 to get in. That's 1/10 of what it cost me to go to Mining Disrupt. One
Yes.
tenth of it.
Yes.
And then like the general admission pass, and the expo pass is great. I mean, you still got, you got full exhibit hall access, all that. The general admission pass, $100, $100, and you get to do, all the cool stuff that's going on there. And then of course you got your business and your VIP and all that. What was the goal with that when you guys were setting that amount? Was that the goal? Like, we want to make this kind of the conference that anyone could go to if they want to?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm all about orange pilling, man. And I don't know a single person that I've gotten into Bitcoin that owns maybe five, 10, $100, maybe $500 that's willing to spend $500, like you just said, to go to a conference for 2 days and just get the bare minimum package. That to me seems absolutely insane. I have trouble spending that kind of money to go to those conferences because I don't understand why I'm paying this absorbent amount of money. But the idea is we want Bitcoin to be for everybody, and we want people to have a low barrier entry point to get into a high, like quality, high premium conference where they can get in front of the leading, thought leaders of Bitcoin or educators and actually understand Bitcoin, to be in an immersive conference without having to like break the bank. And no one's going to pay $500 if you're not into Bitcoin and
Right.
like you're kind of curious. No one's going to do that. So the idea is we're always going to maintain that $50 Expo Pass and the $100 GA Pass. The business passes and the VIP passes will incrementally increase the cost on those because our costs will go up over time as well. But for the average person, we will maintain that like the, hot dogs at Costco, because that is how you continue to get new people in the door. It's how you continue to orange people. And the last thing we want is an echo chamber at our conference.
Yeah. No, that's fair. And that's cool. And on top of that, you guys also have a program. Number one, education's huge with you, and I love that. That's super cool. And on top of that, this program that I saw was on the main page. When you kind of scan down, it talks about, hey, if you're a veteran or a student, fill out this form. We want you there. We're going to comp you to get in. Can you talk a little bit about that? I'm as a military veteran, I love that, and as someone who loves education, so I kind of want to highlight that.
Yeah, so for the students and for the veterans, I think it's just us giving back to the future generation and giving back to those who have served our country and did things that majority of the population will never have to experience, so that we can live free. And so it's just a thank you to the people that have served us and to those who will be the future of our country, right? So we're going to give free expo passes to anybody that has served, in the military, as well as if you're a student in college or high school, we'll give you a free expo pass, and then 50% off tickets beyond tiers above the expo pass.
That's really cool. And I think you're hitting on some areas of the population that Bitcoin really should be resonating with. By and large, veterans are, self-sufficient people. They love freedom. Freedom money is a good thing. Exposing more veterans, and that's something that I take to heart. Exposing more veterans to Bitcoin is a fantastic fit. It's one of the reasons why I love Bitcoin. And then, like you said, future generations, getting these kids in there so they can be exposed to it. They can learn about it. They can learn about it in a proper, non-propagandistic way. And like this summit. That's amazing. So thank you for doing that. That's really, really cool that you guys do that. Talking a little bit, going back to the schedule, you've got some really cool speakers on there. I've been looking at the list, and as a member of the Bitcoin Army, the Bitcoin Army on X, I mean, I see some people on there that are part of the TBA. So I'm glad to see that they're going to be there for it. Some of your speakers, are there any on here so far that you're looking at that you're like, man, that's going to be a pretty good talk? Any that you want to kind of highlight so far?
Yeah, that's the hardest question that anybody asks me when I'm doing this,
Uh-huh.
because I don't like to outline or like I don't know, like isolate single individuals and ignore others. But
Sure.
I'm just like I'm really excited about the builders, man.
Mhm.
There's so many people in the Midwest, and I'll shout out one guy that I think is awesome that I found out was in Indiana, but Ilya Rector. He runs Megawatt.
Okay.
He's a miner out in Indiana, like maybe like the third largest. I don't know where he stands, but he's a
Mhm.
private miner.
Mhm.
And to me, some of the most exciting speakers aren't the ones that you see online that are social media influencers that you
Right.
hear on podcasts every single day. It's the people that are boots on the ground that are building things that have
Mhm.
the experience that like of actual proof of work. Like
Mhm.
that those are the people that I'm most excited about and that we're really focused on propping up in the Midwest Bitcoin Summit like programming schedule. So yeah, I mean, we're going to have all your heavy hitters. Maybe not this year, but we'll have Michael Saylor or like Lynn Olden or Jack Mullers. But eventually,
Mhm.
my focus, like for some of like the larger speakers, is I just want the people to bring a lot of substantial value to the stage. That's what I want. I'm very kind of anti celebrityism. I'm anti like this is the hero. Trust him. It's just proof of work all day long. You better have value, you better provide value. And like
Mhm.
if you do, then I'm happy to support you all day long. That's kind of how I stand on the speakers.
Love it. Yeah, and absolutely not taking away from any of these other people because it is an awesome looking panel so far. Just looking at day one, but you've got a great mix. It is not hyper focused on any one thing. You've got members of like the Illinois House of Reps, Indiana House of Reps. You've got you've got VCs in there. You've got people who are, like you said, the builders. You've got guys who are on the cutting edge of mining right now. I see Huddle Tarantula on there. I see, guys from Giga Energy. These people that are doing things that are really like taking these older industries that people kind of some parts of the country may frown on, the oil and gas guys, whatever, that are out there doing things to really make the country a better place, and they're going to be there speaking about it. I love Tarantula; he's a great guy. He cracks me up. But he does
Yes.
things, yeah, man. But he's legit, right? Like he's not wearing his metal safety helmet and his safety PPE glasses because it's a look for him. He's out in the fields doing this stuff. He's
Yes.
legit, right? And that's the
Yes.
kind of
Yeah.
guys you have speaking at this. They're the doers. They're the doers.
Yes.
So,
Yeah. All right. I'll give you one of my top favorites. Okay. Just so
uh,
it's unrelated to everybody else, and he stands alone in his category, so that's why I'll do it. But Ahmed Moose is one of my favorite speakers for
mm-hmm,
his category because
mm-hmm,
he's pretty based. He's very forward on the holistic but like science backed medicine and
yeah,
like the practical ways of being healthy.
mm-hmm.
So I do appreciate Ahmed Moose coming out for this one. And the only reason why I'll bring him up is because categorically he's kind of alone in that sense. So,
Yeah, man. He
but yeah,
his I like following some of the stuff he talks about when he talks about like fiat medicine, right? That's something that like
yeah.
until you start getting into Bitcoin, you might not realize like, man, I've believed everything that this guy's talking about for a long time. I just didn't even, connect it to Bitcoin as well. It's that whole mindset, right? Getting yourself in the right mindset.
Yes.
That's a good call out though. Dr. Amus is a great guy. I like following his stuff. So yeah, I'm going to be excited to see what he talks about on his stuff as well. So yeah, good call out. So far, how has the response been? Are you guys seeing like a pretty good response to the summit? You're expecting a
Yeah.
pretty decent crowd?
Yes. Honestly, man, it has been overwhelming, especially lately. So it is, we're like 44 days out as of today, or somewhere around that. But it's been just universally positively been accepted, and people are just like overwhelmingly trying to support us on the mission of Midwest Bitcoin Summit. So I can't honestly ask for a better turnout. When we started this thing, like we really didn't get started until November last year. It was a terrifying beginning, but at the same time, you just have to do it. You have to believe in yourself. You have to believe in the mission. And in my heart, I love Bitcoin. I want to see Bitcoin succeed more than anything in this world. This is our one shot to change the world,
Mm-hmm.
really, honestly, that we've ever had. So, if you can fix the money, you can fix a lot of the underlying corruption issues that the world sees and a lot of the incentive structures that are distorted. So I just went ahead and did it. And along the way, man, everybody universally has just supported us. So I'm very thankful for that. I'm very thankful for the people that are going to attend. I'm thankful for the partners and the speakers. And I just want to say every single speaker you see on our list, we have not paid them, nor will we pay for any speakers to come. And this
Mm-hmm.
has been like one of the toughest battles for us. But I want that to be the standard because those speakers that are stepping on that stage are stepping on the stage on their own behalf. They are doing it because they are mission aligned, and I want that to be the case. I don't want this to be a financially driven type of conference. I want it to be a very, mission or ideologically aligned type of conference where we are here to change the world. And we're doing that in every different element in the, in the global economy and the local economy and the national economy. But, universally, this has just been a wild roller coaster of universally positive people helping us out.
Love it, and I think it's already starting to show in that slate of folks so far that you guys have talking. I mean, I'm seeing people on there that that I like to listen to because they are legit. They're real. They're going to say what they feel,
Yeah.
not because someone gave them money to say I want you to pimp this or do whatever. So straight on, like Adam Semeka. Adam and I don't always agree on things, but I like listening to what he has to say because he means
Yeah.
it and he believes it, and that's more important to me than anything. Bitcoin is for
Yeah.
enemies, right? So I mean, we should be able to all get along at the base level, even if we don't agree with everything. I think you've
Yes.
got David Branscombe on there from, David. He's another Texan, man. He does some really cool stuff, and
Yep.
I think that's going to resonate with the crowds. I think that when you go to a conference, you can kind of tell in the crowd whether they're the folks that are attending are into a talk or not by who initially sits down before it starts and wants to listen
Yeah.
to it. And sometimes those crowds can be pretty anemic if it's a topic that's just not going to be hitting. I cannot see anything that y'all have listed so far, and I'm not trying to kiss your butt with this, but just as a person, just as a pleb that would attend, that I wouldn't want to go sit down and say I want to see what they've got to say. Like that's going to be interesting. I think that's
Yeah.
important, and that's because you have people that are not being paid to stand up there and pontificate. These people want to talk about it because it's their passion. So kudos for that.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I think one of the things that I've said that I didn't really intentionally mean to say in a way, but it does have like a kind of like a truth to it on different scales. When you go to like a Bitcoin meetup, you feel the character and kind of the like flavor of the organizer in the meetups often, right? You'll even see it in like the demographic of people that come out and like, repeatedly go to that same meetup location. It's often like whoever organizes it, they kind of like create the tone. And like a lot of what the Midwest Bitcoin Summit is myself and the other founders. Like it's just who we are. It's like at our core what we believe in. And so, whether it's the programming or it's like the pricing, the geographical location, like it's just who we are at the end of the day. Like we don't care about the dumb shit. We care about like winning in the sense of we want to make sure Bitcoin wins. We really just want to push this as hard as we can. We have a beautiful opportunity that Bitcoin isn't ripping to $1 million or $2 million. We have time on our hands, which is the most beautiful and rare asset that we can have. Like we have so much time to onboard people at the base layer, and so yeah, man, I'm just excited. Pretty, we have a long track record ahead of us, and we have a long runway rather, and it's just going to be a wild ride for us for the Midwest.
I think it's going to be great, man. And again, I'm feeling the energy. The more we talk about it, I feel this energy that it's going to be awesome. And I spoke with about a month or so ago. I spoke with the guys at Ixtech. They make bit axes. They they have their cool 3D prints that they do. They're true makers in the space. And one of the first things that they asked me when I got on the show is they're like, "Hey, are you going to the Midwest Summit?" And at the time, I was like, "No, I'm not." I wasn't, slated to do that. I wasn't looking to do that because of just how my schedule was working out. The more people I have talked to, the most common question I've gotten from builders is, are you going to the Midwest Bitcoin Summit? So I think that there's definitely that groundswell. And now I'm starting to get that FOMO of it where I'm like, damn it. Like I wish I would have been able to work my schedule to make that work. I might just still have to do it. I'm going to talk to my wife. She owns a travel agency. So I might just be like, can I go out for a couple days? And a couple other little things just want to touch on while I'm looking at it on the MidwestBTC.com website. All right, guys, quick shout out to the sponsor of today's episode, Altair Tech. If you've been thinking about getting into Bitcoin mining or scaling up your current operation, Altair Tech is who we use at Cinco Doggos Mining for our hardware. They're veteran Bitcoin miners, so they actually understand the equipment they sell. They ship fast from the central U.S., keep a large inventory of in-stock ASIC parts, miners, PDUs, and accessories ready to go. Whether you're starting small with something like an Avalon Nano 3S or scaling into the 200-plus professional mining rig range, Altair Tech has the gear to help you grow. And if you're new to mining, they offer free consultations to help you choose the right hardware and strategy. So head on over to altairtech.io and use discount code CINCO at checkout. That's altairtech.io. code Cinco. Altair Tech. Mine your independence and start stacking sats the sovereign way. Every summit, every conference usually has some kind of little events that go on. The pre-parties, the after parties, things like that. Are y'all doing stuff like that too?
Yeah, yeah. So we have one, like it's pseudo invite only, but if you have a VIP pass, we have a VIP night on the 22nd. This is more for like the exhibitors and the sponsors, and the VIP guests get a invitation as well, but and the speakers. But it's more of like a thank you to everybody that's supporting it from like the business perspective. You know, they're setting up their booths, they're coming out on their own behalf to come speak. So we have a VIP night at Parlay Sporting Club. That's
Mm-hmm.
on the 22nd at 7 o'clock. But if you get a VIP pass and you have the opportunity to go hang out with every single sponsor, every single exhibitor, every single speaker, and we wanted to like give that experience to the VIP guests just as an added bonus. Beyond that, we have a massive after party, and this is the only official large after party that we're throwing. And it's at COSI, the Columbus Science and Industry Museum,
Mm-hmm.
and we call this Catalyst. And something that's unique about this, in the spirit of orange pilling, this is a co-hosted event. It's at the museum, as I said. It's about 1.5 million square feet on the inside. We have the entire museum booked out, plus the back river walk as well. We have food, drinks, DJs. We got Mr. Mix from Two Live Crew. We got DJ Madlings coming out, who he's from Miami, but he's been in the music industry for a long time. But the thing that's unique is we're doing this as a co-hosted event with OCHBS, which is the Ohio Cannabis Health and Business Summit. So it'll be a bunch of Bitcoiners and a bunch of the cannabis folks as well. And it's the cannabis side. It's the owners of companies. It's the operators. It's people that are investing in cannabis. And so the idea is we're going to orange pill the entire cannabis industry in the same step as the Midwest Bitcoin Summit. And this is true with the conference as well. So Midwest Bitcoin Summit and OCHBS, the Ohio Cannabis Summit, we're running those both in parallel at the same venue, same days, same time, separate areas. But whether you're on the Bitcoin side or the cannabis side, you have free access to both expos as long as you bought a ticket. And the same, so that like follows through on the 23rd when we have our first like main after party.
That's cool, man. That's just like a whole freedom summit right there. Like I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's so cool. And it's again those two communities, such perfect. I mean, it is so perfect. You got green pilling and you got orange pilling at the same time. You could do that. That's fantastic. Oh man,
Yeah.
okay. I'm gonna have to talk to the wife about this. We might need to juggle our schedule a little bit. I'm starting to really feel that I'm missing out on this now. Okay, so all that said, education is a big deal to you. I know that. I've done my research about who you are. I can see it online. I see the passion for it. Do you mind talking a little bit about the scholarship program that you're involved in? You okay talking about that a little bit?
100%, man. It's one of the most important missions we have.
Cool. All right. Give us the breakdown, what it is, kind of the pitch about what it is, what the goals are with that, and that way our folks know kind of what you're involved with that.
Yeah. So, a lot of the things that led up to the Midwest Bitcoin Summit, which is obviously me being a Bitcoiner, living in the Midwest and like experiencing these Rust Belt cities. I grew up outside of Jackson, Michigan, which is like the prison city in Michigan. And my grandfather worked at the prison. And, I experienced kind of like the poverty, the crimes, the drug culture inside these cities that have been hollowed out by like the manufacturing base leaving the Midwest. And then I lived in Lima, Ohio for 6 years. And when I was in Ohio, my wife and I spent a lot of time at the YMCA working out every single night. And I got really close with the community over there. And so there's a lot of kids that came from bad households. And, 25% of the population in Lima was living underneath the poverty line. There's a lot of crime. And so when I was there at the YMCA each night, training, working out with kids, like helping them with their diet, I just had this. Yeah, I'm just like, how do you fix the Midwest problem? How do you fix the poverty problem? Because these kids have lived there their whole lives. Their parents lived there their whole lives. And it's just this cyclic thing. You just like before long, you just have kids being born into environments that nobody remembers what it was like to even have a job or the opportunity to have a job.
Mm-hmm.
So I've had this in my mind for like 4 years. I'm like, what if we could just like plug Bitcoin into their brains? They understood Bitcoin. They understand macroeconomics. They understand the money theory, monetary theory. They understand Keynesian versus Austrian economics. What if you could like give them that? Like, okay, now they have the knowledge, but like, how do you fix the economy around them? There's still no jobs. There's still no financial way for them to really claw their way out of this thing. It's still very difficult. Well, you have to like give them the form of opportunity that's missing, which is like income. And you can't really bring the jobs back. But what you can do is you can give them Bitcoin, and you can give them that seed capital that, if held long enough, will give them a start to their life. And so like this idea kind of started, forming 4 years ago, and it really like solidified about a year ago when I was talking to one of my friends, Reggie Smith, who's he runs the retired NFL players of Chicago nonprofit, and we were talking about this. And the idea kind of really solidified where, okay, you give kids that are living in poverty financial literacy education from ages 5 to 18, and you give each kid in the program $500 in Bitcoin, but it's time locked until the age of 25. And so across the years of their adolescent years of learning about financial literacy education, they have conditional ownership of this asset. And through Unchained, they'll have a sub vault account where they can see the balance of the Bitcoin. And so the Bitcoin will trade up and down and all around, just like it does for all of us. And they'll have the same emotional reaction to, oh my God, my $500 is $2,000. Oh my God, it's back down to $700. And they'll have the euphoria and the fear, and the euphoria and the fear. And that is the emotional connection you need in order to get anybody, let alone a kid living in dangerous situations, the emotional attachment to care about the information you're sharing with them. And so the question of how do you get these kids to care about the education? Well, you give them conditional ownership, you give them skin in the game. And then at the end of this, at the age of 25, as a young adult, you take a 5-year old, give them $500 and 20 years of compounding growth of that asset, you may be looking at like $90,000 USD, right? And so now it's a start to your life. And so the idea is give them the knowledge and give them the opportunity in the form of the best capital that we can give it to them, which is Bitcoin. And then, hopefully from that point, they learn a lot about, how to be a functional, responsible adult. They live their lives appropriately. They continue to invest in Bitcoin. They continue to, or start their life in a responsible way. And that's like the dream, right? So we're piloting this in the south side of Chicago in the Altgeld Gardens, as well as in the west side projects of Chicago called the Austin neighborhood. And that's kind of like the rundown of the history of how it happened and what it's really about.
That's cool. It's super noble, man. That's a super super noble thing, and I think you're onto something there. It's one thing to just give a kid, a scholarship to go to college, right? But
Yeah.
to start someone young and say, okay, you're going to watch this and you're going to feel that roller coaster like we all do as adults. You learn it as a kid, then when you're an adult, you're a little better equipped to handle that, right? I think when those of us who get into, our financial situation after we get out of high school or whatever, when it really starts clicking for you, sometimes for some of us, we've got to do some really stupid things because of
Yeah.
that we've got to learn, right? Ruin our credit, get it back, buy that
Yeah.
car at 29% interest, all the stupid stuff that people do when we're younger. But if we can help kids avoid that, or at least mitigate it, not necessarily avoid it, but mitigate it,
Yeah.
expose them to it earlier, and then they can sit there, helps with their time preference. Man, that's great. And so part of the summit too, there's a portion of every ticket sale that goes to that scholarship. Am I correct?
Yeah, so perpetually we'll be donating 10% of the profits of the Midwest Bitcoin Summit to the charity every single year. And so, across along the way, we're looking for obviously the larger donors or the larger corporate sponsors of the, scholarship foundation. So this is like both these missions run in parallel. Midwest Bitcoin Summit at its core is about revitalizing the Midwest economy. And then, the Bitcoin Scholarship Foundation is about breaking the cycle of poverty for kids living in America. And so many of those kids are living in the Midwest. And yeah, we want to continuously support that. And both missions are kind of running in parallel together.
It's fantastic, man. So, and think about that, guys. When you're watching this episode, if you're thinking, should I go? Is it worth it? Whatever. A little piece of that pie of all the reasons why you should go. There's never just one reason to go to an event. There's a myriad of them. One of them is if you're buying that $100 ticket, then you just put $10 into an account for a kid that may change his life or his family's life. So there's something good to be said about that. Like, yeah, you're going for you, but you're helping someone else too. So it's definitely worth looking at. It's fantastic.
Yeah. And if you don't care about, like, I don't know, either you care about kids, and majority of people care about kids, right? You should care about the kids, to the
Mhm.
next generation of kids. But even if you don't, like, even like from a selfish perspective, there's an incentive structure to care about this because living in Lima, Ohio, I lived in like a nice neighborhood. It was called Shawnee, and Shawnee was like the like affluent area, but it was like right next to Lima. Often Lima comes to Shawnee, right? And in like Chicago, the nice neighborhoods and the rough neighborhoods are stuffed right next to each other. And so crime comes to you, especially when you have capital. So, I think for America, if we want this country to be the strongest country it can be, you have to focus on the weakest link. And I'm not saying give them government aid perpetually and just get them on like teat of the government and make
Right.
them dependent. I'm saying we should try to strengthen the weakest links of our country if we want the best outcome for the future for our children and your children's children. So whether you care about it or you don't, like the problems that you will ignore in life will come eventually to you, and they'll be knocking
Right.
on your door.
Right, absolutely, and I totally agree with you. The If we bring up the base layer within the whole country, you get more people interested in things that are wholesome and good, like Bitcoin, like taking
Yeah.
care of your own finances and your own family. Then just by and large, you raise the bar, and that just, I mean, we all benefit, right? We all benefit. The
Yes.
What is it, the high tide raises all boats type of idea, right? So if you just
Yes.
make it happen a little bit, every little bit helps. I mean, that's like when we talk to people about DCA and stacking Bitcoin, right? Yeah, you're putting in $10 a week or whatever. To most people, that's a coffee, but add that up over time and add it up
Yeah.
of a bunch of people doing it, because if enough people are doing it, the demand goes up, the price goes up, we all benefit. So this whole thing, even these conferences, if you're a Bitcoiner and you're like, and I don't go to conferences, hey, that's cool, whatever. We all do what we can to make it better, and that's the whole pie. So
Yeah.
fantastic, man, love it. Okay, so we're gonna start wrapping up. I know you're a busy guy, it's the start of the week, I don't want to keep you too long. Let me see here. Just for my miners, okay? So, because I largest portion of my folks that look at this are miners. Um, there is a mining portion of the summit, right? You've got some guys talking about mining. I know that Chris from Altair is going to be there. He's great
Yep.
to talk about mining. Um, but there is a portion of this that does talk about like off-grid energy, sovereign compute, or the stuff that goes into flare gas. So you guys do have some portions of that, correct?
Oh yeah. I mean, I would say the two largest programming areas for us is energy, mining, heat reuse, and infrastructure. So the Midwest is a very unique region. I know like Texas always gets kind of like the spotlight when it comes to energy, but there's so much energy in the Midwest that's uncaptured. And being from Michigan, my aunt and uncle were partners in an oil and gas company out there. And Michigan's very unique because there's a lot of like small pockets of oil. And so there's a lot of just like little modular well drills that go on, but there's so much excess gas with no pipelines out there. And so there's probably like 100,000 abandoned wells in Michigan
Wow.
alone that just have like, I don't know how many megawatts of gas in it. There's just no infrastructure to get it out. So, there's opportunities everywhere with
Hmm.
the uncaptured gas. But yeah, a huge focus for us is the mining and the energy and the infrastructural. And really for the Midwest uniquely, again, we have very cold winters and
Hmm.
we have pretty mild and cool, spring and fall. So the heat transfer of miners is an exceptional use case and application for us here.
Absolutely, and I think that, and that's something that I always feel like I miss out on down here in Houston. Is I joke around on the show. I say I get 3 cold days a year, right? Like, and for those 3 days, I've got 5 dogs, 5 doggos, and I've got a sulcata tortoise. She's an 85-pound desert tortoise that lives in my backyard. And for those 3 cold days every year, I've got to put her in a shed. If it's not too cold, she comes in the house. But if it's below about 50 degrees, we turn an S9 on. I've got an S9 on in a shed that just we
Yeah.
reuse that heat, right? S9 is not efficient, but it's better than sticking a mechanics heater from a garage out in that thing to keep her warm. So heat
Yeah.
reuse in the Midwest is actually a viable and it should be a popular thing. So I'm glad that's going to be talked about there. Definitely a good
Yeah.
thing to talk about.
Yeah, and if I get my way, man, we're going to spread it all across the Midwest. And we're already talking to the city of Chicago and the Chicago Housing Authority to use Bitcoin miners to heat a lot of the Section 8 housing. So whether you're like Republican or Democrat, like we're here to orange pill everybody. And we're trying to be very intelligent in how we Trojan horse the Democrats because they're largely opposed to Bitcoin or they don't like it because maybe it's attached to like Trump and the MAGA movement, whatever it may be. But man, I mean, we can orange pill people whether they know it or not, and we're going to be pushing this hard in Illinois in the Chicagoland area, and the heat reuse is like the attack vector really for us because everybody loves cheap energy, and
Yep.
like when the government's paying for the energy, they're spending millions of dollars on solar panels, and like that's their solution. And when we explain to them we just plug in computers. The computers will pay you money to run them. We don't really say Bitcoin because that's like a trigger word for them, but
Mm-hmm.
we basically tell them how it'll work. You can get paid to run the electricity, and it produces heat. They're like, "Oh, this is beautiful! I can't
Right.
wait to do this. Like, let's talk about this. Let's like put it in 80,000 units." Like so,
Exactly.
it's Yeah, it's a Trojan horse like opportunity that most of us aren't really focused on.
That's great. I love it. Yeah, that the whole just the offset alone, and I've talked to friends about that too back in New Jersey, and I said, why not? Get an Avalon Q in your house, or
Yeah,
for the kid's bedroom, get a small, a Nano 3S or a Mini 3 or whatever. Get something that produces heat, but it offsets your electric bill a little bit. That's a key thing with people when they hear that offset. Oh hey, you might be able to write off 100% of that equipment on your taxes depending on your situation. Oh, no kidding. Oh, now all of a sudden people are
yeah,
interested. You don't even got to throw the B word out there. You don't even got to throw
I know.
Bitcoin out there. And now people are listening. But that's the hook, right? You plant the seed, you water it a little bit, and then you get them in. And then the next thing you go over your cousin's house and he's reading a copy of Mastering Bitcoin from Antonopoulos, and he's telling you why the government is this fiat engine and blah blah blah. I love that though when you start that, but it all starts with something like this. Somebody goes to the summit, they bring their friend with them because it's only $50 to get in, or they're two veterans or students and they get in for free. And their buddy was like, "This is crap. This is stupid." And the next thing you know, they're walking around, talking about 21 million coins and no more. So I
Yeah,
appreciate what
I
you're
know.
doing, man. I really appreciate it. So
I mean, we're having a lot of workshops that are going on as well during the Midwest Bitcoin Summit that are again very grassroots focused and education forward. And so we have, I think for the first time, we have the Bitcoin treasure hunt that's going on during
yeah,
the entire conference. So a guy named Ranger, he's going to be putting that on,
uh
and
huh,
that's going to be pretty cool because it's very focused on like okay, explaining Bitcoin, explaining how to like set up a hardware wallet, your seed words, everything, but it's in the same step onboarding merchants to accept Bitcoin from this activity. So we're very focused on onboarding merchants. As I said, the heat reuse element. I think the major thing with Midwest Bitcoin Summit is we do not want this just to be the cool place to hang out for Bitcoiners. It will be this, right? It already is that, and it's becoming that very quickly. But we want to bring in the normal economy as much as we can. So HVAC companies, for the heat reuse, onboarding massive companies like that, and we work on this diligently in our spare time. Getting like the normalized economy, incorporating Bitcoin on different levels, and whether it's a financial asset on the balance sheet, or it's a medium of exchange for the merchant, or it's like literally the heat generator from the miner. Like we're really focused here incorporating Bitcoin on every single front because Bitcoin is coming eventually. Whether we did this or we didn't, Bitcoin will integrate into everything. It is the apex money. It's coming for everything. It's going to eat the lunch of every store value asset. It's going to be one of the strongest mediums of exchange once it, matures enough to be a viable, saleable, macro asset like that when we're hitting 10 trillion market cap plus. But like the more we can do on the ground early, the better we will be in America. And just because we are financially privileged in this country doesn't mean that we shouldn't be focused on this heavily and doing the work now. Um, I think it's just there's so much to talk about with the Midwest Bitcoin Summit. The last two things I'll say is this is going to be the best return of your investment of any conference that you'll ever have because we're making it intentionally very affordable and we're making it high quality and it's going to have every level of experience that if you've ever been to a conference you would expect and you haven't been, this will be a great entry point for somebody that's new to the conference space.
yeah, that's fantastic. And I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, Ranger's a great guy. I met him recently online through my buddy Bitcoin Bull, who is he's 3D printing the little Bitcoin accepted here signs that he gives out to when he onboards businesses.
Yeah.
So great guy. Absolutely. Great guy. I'm glad to hear that the treasure hunt's happening. I think that's going to be a lot of fun for people and educational at the
Mhm.
same time. So great double whammy. Okay. So, where can people find information about the summit, about you online, the socials? Where can they find you guys?
Yeah, so probably the best place is our direct website, which is midwestbtc.com. You can also follow us on X. And so on X, we are MWBTC Summit. So that's probably the best two places. If you're like more in the professional elements of Bitcoin, then look us up on LinkedIn. We have a LinkedIn. That's our primary two socials. But yeah, if you want to buy tickets, just go to our direct website, get tickets. It'll take you to a secure checkout. But yeah, I mean, other than that, you can reach out to us directly. I'm one of the faces of the company, and if you really want to get involved, then just reach out to me.
Fantastic. Mr. Tillman, thank you so much for coming on today. Really appreciate your time. I am like seriously super excited about this. For our folks watching this, you've got about what did we say? We've got like 43 days, little over 43 days left from when we're recording this By the time you guys watch it, it'll be about 40 days. Okay. You got about 40 days. There's still plenty of time to make travel plans. Still plenty of time to make
Yeah.
travel plans. So hit it if you can. Like, go to this if you can. Again, the summit, Mr. Tillman, nobody's paying me to say this. I'm doing this because I'm excited about it. I think this is a great opportunity for anyone, no matter what stratum you fit in for Bitcoin, or even if you're not even in it yet and you're curious. $50, $100 is a great entry point if you're excited about learning about Bitcoin. So
Yeah,
please check it out.
let me throw one more thing out there.
Mhm.
So we you know do you know McLovin from Superbad?
Yeah.
Okay, this is like the most unimportant thing, but he's going to be one of our celebrity guests at
Oh, cool.
the Catalyst event. So I want to like make it publicly. We'll announce this too, but I want to make a public announcement somehow where it doesn't get back to him. But put like a million sat like bounty on his head essentially. Whoever can orange pill him first from his own personal record, where he says, "Okay, this guy orange pilled me. He convinced me." I want to
Okay.
put a bounty for that, like a million sats.
Right on. Okay, you heard it here, guys. There's a bounty out for that. You got to get McLovin to get orange pilled. So there you go. There's an
Yeah.
incentive right there to go. If you think you can do it, go and check it out so you can find him and try it. So that's awesome. Just don't annoy the guy.
Yeah.
Just don't annoy the guy.
Yeah,
But
he's a celebrity guest, so you got to be
right.
good at orange
Yeah,
pilling.
show that respect, right? But no, that's really cool. All right. Well, thank you so much. Appreciate having you on the show. I'm excited after the conference, maybe when you got some time, a couple months from now, after the conference is over, we can have you back on, maybe talk about how it went and what the goals are
Yeah,
for next year. So that way, folks that maybe couldn't fit into their schedule this year, they can start planning ahead for next year.
yeah, definitely. That sounds great.
Right on. All right. Thanks, man. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you.